Well, hello again and welcome to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. I'm Tom. As always, I'm with my wonderful, intelligent, gorgeous, very hardworking Star Wars Rebels and Ahsoka loving wife and co-host Michelle.
Well, thank you, sweetie. Hi, everybody.
So good to have you with us. We are recording this episode on Sunday, July 20th, 2023. Well, some of it, a little bit of it on Sunday, July 20th, 2023, because we actually recorded a lot of this episode. A lot of this episode.
The main topic.
On Thursday when we had our guests come and join us. We'll get to that in a little bit. Thank you for joining us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com. Also, we are on social media. We're on Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter, at Hyperion Podcast. Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. If you are on Facebook, come on over and join us for some good, positive Disney energy fun on our Hyperion Adventurers Facebook group. Also, we're on YouTube. If you want to find us there, we're at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. And if you ever want to contact us for any reason, please hit us up at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
Yep, we love to hear from you.
We love to hear from you so much for whatever the reason might be. We just love hearing from you in all these ways that I just mentioned. Now, before we get into this week's show, we always like to take a little break, take a look back at the week that was, because we are the Disney show of positivity. And so we like to point out those positive moments from the week that was. And we call it My Favorite Thing from This Week. And when we do this, we always start with Michelle because she's wonderful, fantastic, all things great. She does the best research. You've heard it. She has the best lists. She also almost always has the best My Favorite Thing from this week. So, Michelle, what was your favorite thing from this week?
So my favorite thing this week is easy. It's hands down our conversation with our great friends who joined us for this episode, Pat and Charles from Conversations. They're always fun, but to have that opportunity, I know sometimes we text and chat that way, but to really get together with them virtually at least was so much fun.
It was fun, and that is my favorite thing from this week, as well as you're about to hear in just a couple moments here how much fun we had. So much fun we just continued the conversation on for an extremely long time. If you're wondering why we're ripping through all this stuff, it's because we're about to get into a very lengthy main topic, but it's a lot of fun and a lot of entertainment, and we think you're really going to enjoy it because Pat and Charles are fantastic, funny people. And we had a great time talking with them. And knowledgeable, definitely knowledgeable, but we had a great time talking with them. So we're going to get to that in a moment. Also, just a quick thing. My other favorite thing from this week is I've started my new job and I love my new schedule so much more. Waking up at a reasonable time, having a real weekend off. It's very, very nice.
Yes, exactly.
Very, very nice.
It's been now, great in that regards.
On to this week's show. We have lots of stuff for you this week, including you'll be able to check out the series we're talking all about on today's episode a little earlier than we originally expected. We'll tell you about that. Speaking of that series, your chance to meet its main character is coming very soon to the Disneyland Resort. That's right. And we now know when you'll be able to dig a little deeper into a few of Tiana's delicious dishes at the Happiest Place on Earth. That's later, however. Let's go ahead and get to our very galaxy far, far away main topic of the week. Well, we can't be more excited. It's finally come. We've been waiting for this moment for a long time. This week will be the debut of the Ahsoka series on Disney Plus. Michelle, are you excited?
I am, but I thought you were leading into you're so excited that this is the week we have some really wonderful guests on.
Who's that? I don't know who you're talking about. We've got some guests, but
They're wonderful.
Wonderful.
Yes. I've been excited to be getting a chance to talk with them again.
Right. Well, we decided, because when we've seen a lot of the trailers and a lot of the talk, we now know that going into Ahsoka, it's going to refer back to another series, an animated series that we know and love very well. And so we had to bring our favorite Star Wars aficionados onto the show to discuss a little bit of Star Wars Rebels and a little bit of what that might mean for Ahsoka. Yes, they're here. You heard them a little bit already. Pat and Charles from the Conversations podcast. Welcome back to the Hyperion Adventures podcast.
Thank you for having us. Although that was wonderful. Not us.
And just how many other shows actually turned you guys down for this one until you got to us? This fight?
We're no consolation prize today.
We're no prize at all.
Oh my God, it's going to be fun.
This is going to be fun. We always laugh a lot with these guys, and we hope you'll laugh along with us. And hopefully you pick up some things too, because they know their stuff.
They do.
And like I said, I know that Rebels has been a favorite of ours, but I know that these two love Star Wars Rebels as well. We got some nice artwork there that Pat is holding up. Unfortunately, you out there can't see it, but we are privileged to be able to check it out there. A little Ahsoka and a little Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Yes. It's actually the sketch that Filoni did. For the well, it's not the sketch. It's a reproduction of the sketch.
It's a print. It's a print.
Yeah. Yes.
Nice.
It's from the art of Star Wars Rebels, which
Nice.
I love, and it clues you find folks into the fact that I am ready for all of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
As are we.
Yeah.
So much
Charles,
so.
however,
Okay. Just because I slept on the Clone Wars, literally and figuratively, and as soon as I finished that series,
for a decade.
you did, and I literally remember the day that I was so proud of myself. I texted him at work that I had just finished the Clone Wars on my lunch break, and loved the end of it. And he says, "Congratulations, buddy! Now start watching Rebels." And it's like, oh my gosh! And at this point, it was still on Disney XD. That's how far back it goes. And I felt a lot of the same things that I felt with Ezra, but also same thing with Ahsoka. Funny enough, the character when he started, and it's like, okay, here we go, and this, like, I'll get to know it. But I can honestly say that the first season, the first few episodes of Rebels, is probably some of my favorite animated and storytelling in Star Wars. Right. I think the characters and the lore that they wrapped into that storytelling was absolutely phenomenal. And to know that there's 4 seasons of that and now spilling into Ahsoka, it's unbelievably exciting for me as well.
Yeah. Personally, for me, I found watching Rebels the second time, I gained so much more appreciation for it too. It's a great
you know what? I think that we've talked about it many times with the Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels. Some of the best storytelling in Star Wars is being done in the animated series. So if you're a fan of the films and maybe now the Disney Plus live action series, don't sleep on a lot of the stuff that is in the animation department, because it is really, really good. And yes, at times it can look at some of the episodes. They'll have some one-offs that can be, as you said, it was on Disney XD. It's going to be basically made to, go for the kids, essentially. There's going to be those one-off episodes, but there's some real deep Star Wars lore, as you were mentioning, Charles, within Star Wars Rebels and also obviously the Clone Wars. And it's really an interesting dive into what makes Star Wars run, essentially.
Yeah. So
and where else are you going to get such great characters like the Inquisitors?
Yeah.
The Bendu.
Oh,
come on, more Maul. Come on.
Yeah.
And Hondo.
And Hondo.
Yes, how could I forget?
The pirate.
The pirate.
Not
He's a legitimate businessman.
Legitimate dish.
He's not a smuggler. He's a pirate.
Well, semantics. I don't know what it means, but I was told to say it.
God, I wish I could do that.
That Thanksgiving thing was so funny.
Oh, that was hilarious. Oh, the Thanksgiving. I forgot about that.
That was good.
Oh my gosh.
I still
so
love that so
ridiculous.
much.
Yes,
That was awesome.
that was awesome.
It was
Yes,
fantastic.
so such brilliant characters and character development that
Mhm.
you know, to just boil it down to like a kid show on a cartoon channel is I think a disservice to the
Right.
tremendous storytelling of the series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Rebels to kind of get us set up for Ahsoka a little bit. For those of you who maybe have not seen the series, there probably will be a few kind of spoilers here, spoiler-ish. If you have seen the series, then maybe this might refresh your memory a little bit. But let's talk about some of the characters who are within Rebels and that we may be seeing move into Ahsoka. What are your feelings on, some of these characters that we've seen and what their impact is on the world of Star Wars in general?
Well, I guess I'll start because why not? I would love. I don't think I'll see it, but I would love a flashback with Freddie Prinze Jr. as our friend Kanan. Because I think he would be perfect live action for Kanan, and of course he would sound just like him. So so I think that would be really cool to see. Maybe Ahsoka telling a story about the Ghost Crew or something, and then it goes into a flashback. That would be very cool. But from what I've seen so far, the live action debuts of some of these characters is fantastic, and I look forward to continuing their stories from Rebels and the epilogue of Rebels and all of that to just have more of that great storytelling for these characters that have become so endeared.
Let's talk a little bit about those characters. What makes them, do you feel, so endearing? I mean, which ones spoke out to you most, and why do they resonate so well with you and the entire Star Wars community?
Well, first I'd have to start with my spirit animal, Chopper. He's brilliant. He's perhaps my favorite character in all of Star Wars because of just how outstanding he is. I've mentioned it on our show many times. I had a very Italian grandfather, and quite crotchety at times, and cantankerous. I think I used the word cantankerous.
Yes.
And so Chopper is definitely my Italian grandfather, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And also, I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a audio chip because it would be profanity.
What I love about Chopper is that he's basically what R2-D2 was initially supposed to be. When George Lucas originally thought up R2-D2, it was Chopper. And then they kind of, he's a little bit too cantankerous. We can have a little bit of that edge to R2, but we don't want him to be that extreme. So they kind of softened him up a little bit. But then Filoni brings out basically the prototype in Chopper, and it couldn't be better. And some of the funniest scenes within Rebels are with Chopper involved.
Yeah, well, Chopper says what we all think.
That's
so.
true.
He does.
No
He
filter.
certainly does.
And that's what's some of the greatest part of it too, because when you look at Chopper, and then as Pat had pointed out to me when he was selling me on the idea of watching this series, he says if you love the Ralph McQuarrie original drawings and the sketches, this series is inspired by his art, from Vader's masks to the stormtroopers and to Chopper, portfolio piece classic from the late 70s that Ralph McQuarrie had done for George, with 3PO and R2D2 on those planes. You can clearly see like the appendages that Chopper has are on R2. So those inspirations like power that entire series, and are very, very artistic in approach and everything. But yeah, like I would say for me, from Rebels, Hera is so good. I mean, I love the different aspects of her character. Like she's the leader, and the perfect complement to her is of course Kanan. Right. But she also goes through her frustrating moments where she's just like fed up with everything and still trying to keep it all together, as well as being, an excellent pilot, and then, part of the rebellion and being looked to as a leader. So she really, I mean, Kanan, but also her really, really connected with me. And I think hugely has affected a lot of the Star Wars fans as well. And I can't wait to see her in live action.
Right.
Agreed. Very much.
I kind of, I think with Rebels too, and I know you guys have talked about it on your podcast, the concept of found family, and how each of those characters really played a role that any of us could identify with as a family. So you had like the mother-father figure, you had the brothers and sister figure, and how they interrelated, and how their relationship grew very much like a family.
Yeah, I think you looked at it, and especially like the growth of a character like Ezra Bridger. From when he first starts off, he's just kind of a rogue merchant, essentially, just kind of just trying to make ends meet. And he meets this found family, right. And just his growth throughout the whole process in just 4 seasons is actually one of the most incredible things within Star Wars Rebels.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at that as compared to Ahsoka, right? Yeah, like one of those growth, like the arcs that he goes through and sacrifices himself at the end. Not to be spoilery, but not sacrifice himself, but like he takes the story to a whole different place, and that we can get to once we launch into the Ahsoka series. But the maturity that he develops through his love for the found family, like you were saying, Michelle, is like it's that transformation. Especially what like, as I call it, when he cuts his hair, that transition from season 2 to season 3, it's like his maturity kicks in and he realizes what he has around him, and he takes his responsibility to like a new level.
Right.
And you got to think about where he starts from. When you first see him, he's essentially space Aladdin. He's a street rat.
Literally.
Yeah.
You literally, yep.
That's a good one.
And so he's a street rat on Lothal, and like he's a teenager, so he's got very, very little to no maturity level, but he's forced to fend for himself and to make ends meet and find solutions to things, which leads to theft and then the Sultan sending and then so then he steals from the wrong guys, and then gets linked up with all that, and then recognizes the importance of relying on other people and being able to trust in other people instead of being skeptical of everyone around you and thinking that they are either oppressors or just like you.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's able to kind of make that jump and start relying on others and recognizing the strength in numbers and in that sort of mutual trust.
Right.
Yeah, his I mean, throughout it, he goes from, like you said, the street rat essentially, into this found family. They realize he's force sensitive. Kanan takes him on basically, as his Padawan to teach him the ways of the Force to hopefully become a Jedi someday. The growth of even Kanan is within the series is amazing himself, because I mean, he kind of had to grow. I mean, yes, he had skills. He was trained at the Jedi Academy, but he was still a Padawan when Order 66 happened. So he had to go through kind of his own arc just to kind of get to where he was when he ended up making his, and again, spoiler alert, his moment of sacrifice, which is one of the most impactful scenes you'll ever see in any piece of Star Wars.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it.
I've told Pat this, and I've said it several times, is that I was like I was saying before, I would watch these episodes while at the gym during lunch hour, and I regretted that decision when I watched that episode with Kanan.
Mm-hmm.
I was an absolute mess. It was so well done, and I could not believe what was happening in front of me.
He was on the treadmill, and he slipped in his own tears, and the whole thing was a mess. The whole thing was a mess.
Thank God the ER was just right around the corner.
Fell on his head, and his hairline's never been the same.
My hairline hasn't been the same since the late 80s. Come on now. But I agree with you, Tom. That's his sacrifice in that episode was some of the most impactful. And we're talking about an animated series, right? But it again leads and gives strength to what you had said before with the Clone Wars, that they have time and the ability to build these characters up in a storyline that you care so much about them. Mm-hmm. And these are just voices with animated scenes. The impact was unbelievable.
And it's scenes like that I think, sometimes when you get to, let's say, the prequel films or whatever, and you look at the Jedi, and actually you see pieces of this in the Clone Wars as well, that the Jedi kind of lost their way and how they're supposed to react or whatever. But that was an ultimately selfless moment, and kind of what you expect from a true Jedi. And you see it again later with, learning from his mentor. Ezra does something very similar. So it really, it reinforces the fact of how great the Jedi could have been. They've lost their way, but they were great, and they could be great. And, that's the same. I think, Ahsoka's had some teachings involved with that too. I think that Kanan having to be able to get together with Ahsoka within that series for, even though it was a small period of time, I think that was huge for him, learning a lot of things from her and what all her struggles were, and how she, stayed true to what the Jedi should have been throughout the Clone Wars, and now as we're moving into Ahsoka. We already mentioned it a little bit, the artwork of Ralph McQuarrie. You can't talk about Zeb without talking about that artwork, because Zeb, if you look at that artwork, was what Chewbacca was originally supposed to be. And Zeb has already made his live action debut. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see him within Ahsoka coming up at some point here.
And you all did an amazing episode about him. That was just heart-wrenching.
Very fun to do, for sure.
Yeah.
Go back, we'll mention it many times, find the Conversations podcast. So much good stuff that they talk about some of these characters in depth. It's really, really good. The other one there's a couple we really need to talk about. Sabine Wren. We know she's going to be in Ahsoka. We've seen her. Excited to see where her path, and again, to talk about another character who went through some significant growth throughout that series. She was a big one, right, guys?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And just her, especially when you're talking about the Ahsoka series in relation to The Mandalorian. And then
that's right.
You've got Sabine, who's got such rich history in Mandalorian culture. Like, as soon as you see her, she's like, I'm Mandalorian, and the whole bit. Like, she's very proud of where she came from, and the whole sort of the mythos surrounding Mandalore, and sort of what gives her the strength as a teenager, as part of the Rebels crew also. It gives her this sense of empowerment. And that whole part of her arc and her history is such a prevalent part of what we're seeing now on the series on Mandalorian and all. And also, she's really the first person to bring any sort of art into Star Wars.
It's true. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So she's got that warrior culture, that sort of almost Viking type of personality
Oh,
to
that's a good
her,
one. Yeah.
and then also like she's an artist, so she's super cool.
Mhm. And like
100%.
very intimately involved with the Darksaber, which is a huge part of the
Yes.
Mandalorian. And
Hmm.
some of the groundwork of what we see literally in the last season 3 of the Mandalorian, and the way that that's being treated is that ground was laid in the Rebel series.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And finally, we have to touch on one more character because we know he's also going to be making an appearance in Ahsoka, and probably one of the characters you love to hate the most. I mean, talk about a great bad guy, Grand Admiral Thrawn. So fantastic when he made his canon debut within Star Wars Rebels, and I'm just looking forward to seeing how that carries over. Your thoughts on Grand Admiral Thrawn, guys?
I mean, you're 100% right. I mean, Timothy Zahn created Grand Admiral Thrawn in sort of the post original trilogy series, and not only has he graced us with one of our intros for our episode for our podcast, but
Good
um,
for you.
the
Yeah,
good for you.
that's one of my
Exactly.
favorites.
Yeah.
And he literally said, "Don't stop it until I give you the phone again." So he took my phone and then recorded it. It's like, "Don't stop until I'm done." So yeah, so and that Dave Filoni and John Favreau to obviously to a certain degree as well have done really well in going back into some of the lore and the expanded universe as we know it now, of plucking some characters out of these storylines that people grew to love after the original trilogy came out. And Thrawn is an extremely complex and interesting character, and I loved him from the first moment that I heard about him. And for him then to appear in Rebels, and to Pat's point, he takes the art and he looks at sort of the culture of a race or a species or of a character, in this case Sabine, and he studies her art to understand more of what drives her, and how that changes the dynamic of what he's dealing with, or even with Hera's Kalikori, her family heirloom that we see about so much in that story. he it's he is working on a totally different plane, and that makes him even more fearsome as a villain.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, not only, I mean, yes, obviously he looks at that, but he's such a brilliant tactician in that he studies every aspect of the people that he is trying to basically win over in whatever way it may be, whether it be actual dominant victory or there are other ways. He doesn't always necessarily feel the need to fight or win necessarily.
Or win.
He wants
Yeah.
to figure out exactly. He's brilliant in his study, whether it be the artwork, the history, everything about it. He's always thinking about how to improve his status, to improve whatever status is that he is representing at that time, which is an interesting conversation on where he will be when we actually get to Ahsoka. There's a lot of discussion on, will he be a bad guy? Will he maybe not be such a bad guy? Because he, works for whatever is the right thing for whatever he's trying to accomplish. So it's going to be interesting to see. So that's basically, oh, Pat, you got something? Go ahead.
Maybe. And also, the last time we see him in Rebels, he is with he's um confined with a certain uh young Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So
With some certain other creatures that we happen to have seen within The Mandalorian.
yes. So that being said, it's will be interesting to see what kind of time frame that is, because if you recall earlier on in Rebels when Zeb and Agent Callus were stuck together, that ended up kind of tipping the scales for Callus
Right.
Oh
to the
yeah.
point where he ended up turning on the Empire
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
in
Yep.
favor of the cause of the rebels. So, this could be an opportunity for him to I don't know if it would cause him to turn the tides, but certainly have second thoughts.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
I think that makes him even more interesting because you think you have him pegged as a bad guy, and you may have no idea where he's coming from when we first see him.
Yeah.
Wow.
I could see it
Wow.
either way with
Yeah.
him. I could see him
Mm.
staying totally bad, or I could see that, yeah, him
Yep.
being swayed a little bit,
Yep.
with that time with that certain young Jedi, and maybe decide that no, we need to approach things in a different way. But we'll see. I don't like to make too many expectations in what we see. I just like the
Yeah.
story to be told, and decide on it as it goes along. But it'll be interesting. But let's go ahead and get to it now. The main character that we're moving into this series now, it is of course one of our all-time favorites, Ahsoka Tano, and I think Michelle is going to take it over from here because I know she's a huge Ahsoka fan.
So yeah, I do love her character. I think I've grown to love her more and more over time.
We have Ahsoka Tano over here.
Oh, Costanza
I
right
am
there.
no Jedi. Oh boy.
Oh, nice.
Oh man. So what I was thinking we'd do is I'd have a series of specific questions for each of you, kind of about what is Ahsoka, who is Ahsoka, and then maybe go into a few
Why is
things
Ahsoka?
that's right, about some of the speculations of what's coming based on some of the things we've seen in trailers and things like that. And then we can move into some trivia too, maybe. But
Ugh, that's never good.
all right.
Oh, boy.
So
That's never good. Ugh.
So I'm just
Okay.
doing this alphabetically. So, well, this question is for Charles. So, Charles, we've seen various Jedi's interpretations of what they believe a true definition of Jedi is. What do you feel Ahsoka's belief is, and maybe how it's changed over time?
Well, I would say that not to be completely plugging our own show, but we have an episode coming out tomorrow that reviews Ahsoka's leaving,
Which would
of
be
the
last
Jedi
Friday
Order,
by the time you hear this, just so you know.
or Saturday, depending on how I can edit
Tomorrow
it.
is yesterday.
But I think that Ahsoka's view of the Jedi has changed drastically from where she started with Anakin and as a young teenager, and progressed to the point where the ideals of the Council and the perception of the Jedi changed from a point of we are here to do good for the galaxy to the point where we need to do good for the person. And that's why she left. And despite Anakin's constant support, she did leave the Jedi. And we even see that in the Rebels series where she faces an unbelievable series of episodes where she faces Anakin slash Vader. And he challenges her, this is not the Jedi way. And she literally says, I am no Jedi. And it literally, I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it. So I think that she has taken the purity of what she believes is a Jedi and transformed it into something that she believes in, where she spreads the protection of those who can't protect themselves from the oppressors. And it even goes down to her lightsaber colors being white. We're not talking about colors and blues and greens or reds of the Sith. She has this sort of purity about her, and I think that's really where a lot of the fandom has taken that and seen it as the gray Jedi, as the sort of in between the Sith and the Jedi. Or as the Bendu called it, was what did he call it again? He called the Bendu in the Rebel series called it Ashla, and I can't think of it. Yeah,
Right.
the Bendu has this very different terminology for the Sith and the Jedi. So it's very Bogan.
And Ashla is the name that she used in the Ahsoka book when she had
That's right.
when she was kind of under the radar,
Yeah,
which
nice.
is a really cool nod to that. And like the whole Bendu, the whole idea and the arc of the Bendu, like everybody needs to like see that
Yeah.
Yes, it's
because
so
it's
important.
just so rich with lore of the Force, and it's
Yeah,
just it's so um so different from the stance of like the Jedi Council.
right.
Right.
Mm.
And
And
that's why, the Bendu aspect of the Force has been, everlasting throughout the history of the galaxy versus the, absolute crumbling of the Jedi Order because it's wrong. They were
Right.
wrong.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually think, I mean, when you were discussing Ahsoka and whether she is a gray Jedi, essentially, Charles, I think Bendu is very gray. I think he is,
Mm.
very much on both sides. But I think, to me personally, and, everybody's up for their own interpretation, of course, Ahsoka is the light. She is what a Jedi should be.
Yep.
She's not in
Yep.
between a Sith or a Jedi. She is what they should be striving for. If they were ever to try and put together a Jedi Order again, it is what Ahsoka Tano stands for, is the epitome of a Jedi. And that's just my personal feeling on it.
Oh, totally agree. Totally agree.
All right, Pat, you ready for your question?
Yes. No,
All right.
not at all.
Just hit the pause button here. Okay. What main attribute or characteristics do you think define Ahsoka?
Compassion, I think, is the main attribute that she exhibits.
Nice.
She is, and that was like super easy because it's such a guiding principle for her. Throughout, for example, the Ahsoka book, throughout that, throughout the arc in the Clone Wars where she, basically is accused of uh, basically murder and treason against the Jedi Order, and then throughout Rebels, and even throughout the Mandalorian, she cares about people and the welfare of others.
Right.
So, going back to Clone Wars, like she not only was trying to exonerate herself, but she was trying to get to the bottom of what happened, to bring justice to these people that were killed.
Right.
Not only I didn't do it, but who did it, so that we can bring them some sort of justice. And then, then you've got the book where she's can't help but help others, and that gets her into some hot water with Inquisitors, and
Right.
having to almost expose herself, um, because she can't sit idly by,
Right.
which is even the downfall of Kenobi in the Kenobi series, where he's like, bury
Oh,
lightsabers
yeah.
and put your head down and go back to
Right.
business, and she can't.
Good point.
She can't do that, and so throughout the book she's doing that, and then in Rebels she's the fulcrum. She's the contact
Right.
that's trying to help them at risk of her own safety.
Right.
She is supposedly um dead at this point. So
Right.
she's risking, her safety to help the cause and help the future of the galaxy there. And then, when you fast forward to even, the Mandalorian, where she's presumably still searching for Ezra, and also helping the galaxy, putting herself at risk for the benefit of others. It's such a selfless approach to everything, when essentially she's enemy number one of Vader.
Right.
And she doesn't even think of that. She thinks of others. So I think that is the cornerstone of who she is.
Right.
And it's reflected all throughout her story arc.
Yes. Agreed.
Agreed. I mean, even
So
if you
good.
look back at that moment that Charles was talking about a little bit ago, where she squares off with Darth Vader, her master, Anakin Skywalker, who she realizes at that point that is the case. Part of that was defending Ezra, who was there to begin with and standing up to Vader
Right.
And he gets knocked down fairly quickly, but she gets in the way, and
Yeah.
basically says, "Nope, I'm going to take this. You get out of here and get to safety." And again, that's just what she does.
Right.
Ugh, so good.
Great.
Ugh.
Great responses. You ready, sweetie?
No,
Well, buckle up, because she doesn't take no for an answer, apparently.
If you need a question B, maybe I can come up with some on the
Yeah.
fly. Who knows? But
skip.
Phone a friend.
all right. We've talked about a lot of really interesting and beloved characters in Rebels, especially. But what do you feel is so compelling about Ahsoka that to have her own series and one that fans are so excited about coming out?
Gosh, I don't know what's not compelling about Ahsoka. Again, she is the epitome of what a Jedi should be, and I think that is a pure sign of what people want to see her as. She's exciting. She can be calm and cool and collective and ponder a moment and take it all in. But when she actually gets into a duel, a lightsaber duel, or any sort of battle, she can be as fierce a fighter as you will ever see out there. So there's that kind of action and excitement. But I mean, she's so beloved in this community, which is funny because when she first debuted, she was not.
Right.
But
yeah.
they wrote her story. They let her continue on. They didn't write her off and say, okay, well, that's not going to work. Star Wars fans don't like her, whatever. No, they stuck to it, stuck to her story, let her grow, and the fandom grew with her. And I now believe, I mean, I don't have any official list out here, but she's top 5 Star Wars characters out there for someone who has had very little actual live action, hasn't been in any of the films. I think that there's a huge amount of excitement for this character, and I am one of them. She is one of my favorites for sure.
Good answer. See, you're questioning yourself.
We question him too.
Warranted.
Let's get into the next round. We've seen.
Wait, there's another round? Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
It's a C.
Oh, boy.
We've seen some of the trailers, although, Pat, I don't know if you have, but
I don't watch trailers.
I know. I know you.
I know.
I know. Perfect Michelleism.
There's been information out there. So let's talk about some of your personal predictions or speculations of what we might see in this series, and going back to letter C, Charles. All right. Do you think the series is going to reveal the conversation that took place after Ahsoka defeated the magistrate? And if so, what do you think will come out of that?
I don't think specifically. No, I think that that entire magistrate arc for me was, while existing in the Mandalorian universe and sort of driving some of his story, that really was the Jedi episode it was called. So it was obviously purely about Ahsoka and then introducing her in live action. I think it had to do more with prepping the audience with the Darksaber and how its implications with the future, how with Thrawn, because that was the first time she actually mentioned him.
Right.
And I think that also then prepped the audience to say, hey, look, there's some characters coming soon, and as we know now, it's the Ahsoka series that you should probably go back and try and follow up with to get more of the story. So I'm thinking that specific conversation, although it might be very interesting to hear about what they were actually talking about, serves more as a launching pad for what we could expect to come in the Ahsoka series. And the online speculation you'll see, of course, is like, this is now Rebels season 5, and I think in general, I think Filoni is probably gonna do more than just that, but I think that the likelihood that we see, one thing that I'm looking forward to, if possible, would be a live action reunion of all of these characters. Obviously, Kanan is is unfortunately, but like Pat was saying, as a flashback. But that mural that Pat was referencing a long time, when we started, to reproduce that as close as they could with, like you said, with
Right.
Zeb in live action. We got
Mm-hmm.
Chopper in live action, and we've got the other three there as well, and Ezra and Thrawn to a certain degree. So yeah, that would be fantastic. But I think that's more of a that entire part was more of a call out to get ready for the series and go back and watch some of the some of the backstory that you
Right.
can on Rebels.
I'd be interested to know where that scene falls within the timeline of the Ahsoka series, because I got to have a feeling that they're going to maybe move forward, move backwards.
That's true.
And again, this is going to be a spoiler, so be warned for the end of Rebels. The end of Rebels is post Return of the Jedi, and that's when they decide they need to go look for a certain young Jedi. So was that before that magistrate meetup? Right. After? Where does it fall in the timeline? I'll be interested to find that out.
Right.
And let's not forget that some of the logo for the Ahsoka series is reminiscent of the World Between Worlds.
Well, there's that too. I was going to bring that up a little later, but yeah.
So, I mean, timeline-wise, who knows?
It could mean anything with the World Between Worlds.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it was even Filoni even said that what was it, during the season 3 of Mandalorian, or was Favreau, one of them, had said that, yeah, well, the timeline really isn't what you guys think. It could meander back and forth. So they're setting things up that.
You know why? You know why it's not what you think? Because it makes for good Star Wars.
Thanks for stopping by, Dave.
Thanks for stopping by.
All right, so now we're back to Pat.
All right.
Oh boy.
Okay,
well, you
Pat.
haven't learned your lesson yet, so here we go.
It takes a long time for me to learn my lesson, trust me.
Got it.
I know.
Oh, see, I didn't have to burn Tom because he did it himself. Okay, enough. Oh boy.
All right, and again, knowing that you choose not to watch trailers, I get that, and you're also not as social on the socials, or maybe know of all the things out there, but you may have heard.
Social.
You're social, but not on the socials.
What's a social? my
It's all those things you'll be running off at the end of this show.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny.
The question here is, so there is some talk or speculation out there that Sabine may be force sensitive, and that there may have been a master-apprentice relationship between her and Ahsoka. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, she did train with the Darksaber as part of her right as a member of Clan Ren, and did relatively well with that. So there have been force-sensitive Mandalorians, and there very well may still be. That being said, I hear tell of her having Ezra's lightsaber, which is interesting as well, because why? and if that's any indication as to her having used it more than, say, slicing open a tauntaun, then that's also very interesting as well, because if it's in her possession for that purpose, then maybe she's been becoming more in tune with the Force as well, which would be quite interesting. And if that were the case, and she is obviously been promoted as a large enough part of the Ahsoka series, it makes absolute sense that Ahsoka would take her under her wing um and 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 train her and teach her the ideals of what a Jedi should be versus the bureaucracy of the Jedi Council that led to their downfall in the first place.
Right.
Ooh. And I'd add to that when we
No, you
see
wouldn't.
that was perfect. You don't need to add anything. But if you really think back when Kanan was training her with the Darksaber in the Rebel series. Now, of course, that was going on, and she did very well, as Pat was saying. And we've seen in the Mandalorian series that Din Djarin struggled with the Darksaber. He didn't know how to handle it. It was like this weighted piece of armament in his hand, and he just didn't know what to do with it. So if that's them then laying the groundwork for the fact that Sabine is force sensitive and she has an ability to be able to control it more than he does, then they've already put that out there that, well, if you had watched the Rebel series, Sabine was using that thing without any real difficulty. Din Djarin was. So that could be some visual groundwork to make that leap.
I'll also
Thanks for
say this,
mansplaining that to us.
I think that every person in the Star Wars universe has some sort of force sensitivity. I think it's minimal for most. I think others can actually, tap into it much better. Obviously, the Jedi and Sith and etc. But I do believe that everybody's got a little piece of it in there, and I think that they use it in different ways. I mean, is Han Solo force sensitive? Well, no, he's not going to wield wield a lightsaber or whatever. But I mean, to fly the Millennium Falcon the way he does, you can't tell me he doesn't have a little piece. You can't tap into the force a little bit to accomplish those. It's just the way. That's again the way I personally look at it.
Right. All right. Good answers, guys. Okay, sweetie, here's your next one. Don't look, because the trivia question is right underneath.
Don't look.
No unfair advantages here. Okay, we've seen.
I think
Hera.
he has an unfair disadvantage.
TK421, go back to your post.
Negative. We've got a slight reactor leak. Give us a few minutes to lock it down.
Oh gosh.
Charles, we're gonna have company.
Okay, we've seen Hera be a fighter as well as a nurturer in Rebels. What do you think of the line from the trailer where she says, "I've spent most of my life fighting a war. That's why I'm trying to convince you to help me prevent another one."
Well, I mean, where are we talking about within the timeline and what's going on? And, there's just the beginning of the First Order. And what's, is that what they're trying to get at? Is, a lot of that was, started out in the outer regions of the galaxy, essentially. And that may be where they're trying to go out there and find that young Jedi and Grand Admiral. So maybe they might stumble across a little something. So maybe there will be a little piece of that thrown in with this. I don't know. I don't know exactly what that definitively refers to, but it wouldn't shock me if that is some sort of aspect of this, because it kind of falls into where we should be within that realm of what we assume the timeline might be.
Right.
Yeah, and that's also part of... Well, yeah.
No, go ahead. Age before beauty, I guess.
I was just going to say that, in the seasons of The Mandalorian, they were laying some of the groundwork for the like Tom was saying, the groundwork of the First Order and the cloning, and shout outs to sort of the Emperor and those experiments. So there's definitely some crumbs out there that they're seeding for the sequel trilogy, and because we're in that middle space, they're definitely trying to connect those stories together.
Right. Pat, you had something you were going to say?
No, the moment's passed. It's fine.
God.
No, you also have whatever Moff Gideon's trying to do, and his dark troopers and all this craziness. So, you've got several threats at the time period that we've seen so far in the live action, you know, Filoni verse, I guess. The Mando verse, is whatever verse you're referring to. You've got several possible threats that she could be referring to, or all of them. You know,
Yeah.
Right.
I imagine that whatever is happening through each of these series is um, heading, you know, directly towards the film that they're going to be making.
Oh, that's right.
So I feel as though any and all of those things are on the table for
Hmm.
Sure.
obviously some sort of large scale conflict.
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah, makes
Agreed.
sense. All right, before we get into the trivia round, anybody have any other predictions or speculations from what you've seen or heard so far?
Not me. Like I said, I don't like to predict too many things because I like to have the story kind of lead the way for me and not make assumptions, because I feel like, it leads to disappointment possibly if you expect it to go certain, maybe not, predictions, but no expectations of where things necessarily will go.
Right.
So I just try and I steer away from that a little bit. I think, Pat, that's part of the reason why you don't like to watch the trailers so much. Something similar to that regard. I just like to, have an idea and go forward and hey, tell the story, and hopefully I'll enjoy it. And I think I'm going to, because I enjoy most everything.
I would
Either of
say
you
that
guys? Yeah.
I'd say like it's like Rebels, putting that aside for the whole series. It's amazing. It's got lore, it's got characters we know, we got new characters, new stories. There's one episode that is in this series that is so impactful for Maul's arc and Obi-Wan, and it is so strong. And just even to watch that, if you watch the episode in season 3 called Twin Sons, and you watch that from start to finish, that encapsulates how well this series spoke to Star Wars. And it's brilliant. It's 24 minutes of absolutely gorgeous animation and storytelling. So watch that episode, you'll be hooked. Watch the entire series, and then you'll be ready for Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do that, post haste, because the series.
Yeah, you're running out of time here.
Yeah.
Very, very soon.
True.
Yes.
I mean, I'll hijack you just for a second, Michelle. Oh, go ahead, Pat. Go ahead. You first.
Well, I lost my train of thought. I was thinking about Maul.
It was half a thought.
Oh, that's.
That was good.
Yeah, all right, that's fair. That's cheerleader. I love it.
Yay, honey, you did something good. It's so rare. I have to point it out.
Hey, that was good. I
Oh,
laughed
I'm
at
so
that.
shocked.
You made it funny.
Oh, I would like to see or hear an Ashley Eckstein cameo.
Yeah, agreed.
Ooh.
Agreed.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It wouldn't shock me if
Would.
that happens.
I would. I think that would be a huge missed opportunity if they did
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
Mm.
Agreed.
All right, so trivia
that.
for
Okay.
points.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
How do we want to do this? Raise hands, say your name, or just shout out the answer?
Just say your name.
All right, so if you want to answer it, if you know the answer, say your name, and then we'll acknowledge you, and you can give your response.
Oh boy, this has gotten complicated.
I know. All right, we'll start with an easy one, and I'll take. There's 3 possible answers. Okay. What nicknames are used for Chopper on Rebels?
Ding ding ding, Patrick. So can I go with Chop? Like Chop works, but also Chopper is a nickname.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So like, because C110P is his
Mhm.
name.
Right.
his
Okay.
number.
Looks
So-
like an H. Looks like
Okay.
a.
So we'll give you 5
Right.
points for that. Anybody else have any others?
No, I
Chuck?
don't actually.
Chip. Charlie?
Chip.
Okay,
That-
Belligerent.
That's not a
we were looking for Rolling Menace, Rust Bucket, and Rolling Junk
Bucket.
Pile.
all right.
All legitimate
Uh,
things he was called.
Options. That's
that
awesome.
that oil
And all
bath is
fitting.
gonna feel so good.
All
or
right.
Pat's grandfather. Does that work? No. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, legs, Joey legs.
Okay. Who wrote all of the episodes of the Ahsoka series?
Pat.
Your
Charles.
name? I think Pat said.
Go for it,
Is
Pat.
Go for it.
Am I good?
Go.
Am I good?
Yeah.
I think you slightly
All
edged
right.
out Charles there.
I think. Well, I mean, what else is
It's
new?
the ping pong.
I'm gonna ping pong. It has to hit the corner first. That's his whole brain. He heard it, but he didn't compute it until
Right.
later. Right, exactly. I'm gonna say Dave Filoni.
Ding, ding, ding. Correct.
Dang it.
All right.
All right.
Pat's running away with
He's
it.
got 10 points already. This one might be a little harder, so we'll make this one a 10-pointer, okay? What is Fulcrum's advice to Hera concerning Kanan's rescue?
I do not recall that one.
Charles raised his hand.
I did nothing.
I told you this one would be
Wow.
harder.
I
right,
don't know.
give up.
I don't know.
She said, cease the rescue and go into hiding.
Go
Wow.
into hiding. Yeah. I was gonna
Wow.
say don't do it, but I don't think she said don't do it.
Just don't. Just don't.
Right. Hey, stop it. Stop it.
Always good advice.
Don't do it.
Wait, that's not the line.
It's the
Oh boy.
opposite.
Yes.
Okay. In which Star Wars film or series did Genevieve O'Reilly first portray Mon Mothma?
Oh,
Charles.
Pat.
Charles went first.
Return of the Jedi. Oh shoot.
Tom.
Oh, wait. Pat was second. Would it?
Oh, but
When-
okay.
Yeah,
Fine.
Pat
Wait.
was
Does
second,
it?
Charles-
Wait. We need to establish the rules. Is it so? When
Go
someone
ahead,
gets it
Pat. You
wrong,
got it.
No, hold on. So is it a reset of like the thing where you got to buzz in
Oh.
again? Ah.
That's a good
If
question.
so, then Tom's got it.
Yeah, I think
All right,
Tom's
why
got
don't
it. Yeah.
You both say it at the same time, and you can both be
We'll
awarded
split the points.
No, you can be both awarded, but
Okay.
you got to say it at the same time. When I'm going to do a countdown. 3, 2, 1.
Rogue One,
Episode
the Star
3.
Wars story. Oh, it was episode,
Episode 3.
Oh, he's
Revenge
got
of
it.
the Sith. All
Ah,
right.
see, that's why Pat's the trivia champion.
Yeah. 10 points total now. That was a 5-pointer.
Sorry, that was me channeling Chopper.
Again, was that an insult?
The Pat,
Please
yes.
translate.
Yes, it was.
Most
I
definitely.
felt it to my core. Yes.
Okay, another 5-pointer. Who is Ewan McGregor currently married to?
Pat.
Pat.
Harrison Dula.
Right.
Not
Do you know
fair.
her name?
Yes. Yeah. Come
Harrison
on now.
Dula.
No. No way.
You get 2 points for knowing
Doesn't
that.
count. It doesn't count.
It's a
Okay.
2-point. You get half a credit.
Half credit. All right.
You get one portion.
Wait, 1/4 portion? Oh man. Oh, this deal is getting worse. This deal is getting worse all the time.
Looks like Tom and I are doing dishes tonight.
Oh, Disney.
All right.
did it.
Y'all give
Oh.
up? Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Winstead,
that's
that's
the one.
right. The actress,
Yeah.
right? Yes. Yeah.
You can just go through these. I'm not going to get any of these right, so I'll just sit back and relax.
We're
I'm
actually,
going to do nothing.
we're actually pretty close to the end now. All right. This will be a 15-point question.
Ooh, back in the game. Here we go.
Yep.
Don't get
caught up.
cocky.
Okay. Which actor or actress from the Ahsoka series was trained in martial arts as a child by their father using 2 plastic telescoping lightsabers? And you can get an extra 5 points if you know the father's name. who happened to also train Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris.
Tom?
I'm glad I gave up.
At least they're not
remember,
Googling this.
I remember hearing something about the father training Bruce Lee,
Mm-hmm.
but I also have ADHD. So I heard about that and I was like, Bruce Lee. And then I thought of, Enter the Dragon. And I just then like Kill Bill came up and it just like stuff got weird and crazy real quick. And then that was where that ended.
Are you trying
Charles.
to give a reason to get a point here? Is that you're trying to?
No,
Oh.
no.
I know all the information around your question.
I'm reinforcing the fact that you do have a legitimate trivia question.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
By the way,
That's
stuff
all.
got crazy real quick is definitely Pat's name of Pat's autobiography for sure.
Stuff got crazy real quick. Yes, sir.
Okay, Charles.
I don't know if I'm right, but I think I remember a
The
story.
original question was the person in Star Wars, yes?
Yes.
And then the bonus points were for the father who
Father,
trained.
right. Yeah,
right.
there's no way I'm going
All
to know
right.
the father, but I think
Right.
I remember seeing something about the magistrate from
Mhm.
the.
Yeah, but
the-
what's the actress's name? Because that's what I was going to say, but I mean, I don't know who she is portrayed by.
Oh, I don't know. Isn't her
And
name
I didn't Google it either.
Isn't her name Elsbeth?
No.
The character name? No.
Oh, yes, the character name.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So if that's
Yeah,
not worth any
Magistrate
points, then
Morgan
I'm not.
Elsbeth. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know anything else beyond that.
Okay, so it's
That's not worth any
Diana,
points.
Diana Lee Inosanto.
But that's who it is, right?
Yeah. And her father
Okay.
was Dan Inosanto.
Wow.
But
Dan
yeah, she
Inosanto.
actually trained with toy lightsabers to learn
Wow,
martial
that
arts.
is
This
cool.
is way before
That's
she was
pretty
ever going to
awesome.
be. Yeah, right?
Cast as it like that's crazy. That is absolutely
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so Charles, you get 10 points for.
Get 10 points. Oh boy. See, look what happened. We already talked about his big head. Now it's even bigger. Can you zoom out, please? Can you zoom out?
Okay, this final one is a 25-point.
Wow.
Okay,
Tom,
This is
you could
this is
win
the final one. You can win the whole
Final.
thing with one question.
that's right. Okay, in an interview at Star Wars Celebration in Europe, Rosario Dawson, who plays the lead, was asked which episode was her favorite for fans to see, that she was most excited for fans to see. What episode did she subtly reveal? Like, she didn't say it, but she indicated it.
It was the one that she likes the most.
It's the one that she's most excited about fans seeing.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so which episode was that?
Pick a number and you can.
I know, you got-
you might get it right.
Now we're talking about the Ahsoka series that she's most excited about, right? Okay.
Yes.
How many episodes are? I don't even know how many episodes there are. What, 8?
8, yeah.
Charles,
Okay, Charles.
4.
Oh, so close.
All right, I'll take a shot in the dark. Tom,
Tom.
8.
No.
Oh,
Okay, part of the clue was that she
Pat.
suddenly. Okay, Pat.
5.
He got it.
God, no way.
He did. What she did was she did this. She goes, well, I can't really say.
Wow.
she put her hand on her face. What
With
Michelle was doing, she
5
put her hand on
fingers.
her
5
face with 5
fingers.
fingers. Yeah.
All right, so I guess Charles has 10 points. Pat has 37.
680.
37.
Minus affinity.
You were just being a nice host and you didn't want to take
That's
over
it.
all
That's
the...
it.
No, you're just representing how many episodes Rob has published this
Very
year.
good.
Rob for the Jedi Temple Archives podcast?
Exactly.
Well, I was gonna
0.
say, I should send you my notes. I actually was going to say something about how I know you're contractually obligated to say his name for fear of Guido coming after your family or something.
No, it's Rob
Rito
actually.
coming after our
It's-
family.
Yeah, it's Rob. That's what we're afraid of.
Yeah.
Lumbering
His
after your
lumbering-
family.
His lumbering is rivaled by none other.
Slowly lumbering. So we've got a head start, but still.
Here he
it's
comes
still-
now.
Uh-oh. Guys, we better get out of here in the next 3 to 6 months.
He's blocking out the sun.
Oh,
That's so good.
Wow.
He's gonna murder each one of us.
Yes,
He
he's
will
going
murder
to.
us all,
He will.
except Michelle.
Man.
Except
I think
Michelle. Yeah,
she's in the
exactly.
clear.
Hopefully
Yes.
not, yeah.
Very good.
But I can then tell your stories there. You know,
Exactly.
your legacy shall live on through me.
All right. Well, thanks, Eliza Hamilton.
All right. So, I guess to conclude my portion of the episode here, we were talking about if people haven't rewatched things at this point, time is a wasting. What would each of you say would be for minimal prep, bare minimum, what episodes of either Clone Wars, Rebels, Mandalorian, and or Book of Boba Fett that somebody should rewatch for this new series?
To get you set for Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the question I was going to ask the guys. So you were on top of it,
All right.
as you always are.
Oh, thank you. Charles, why don't we start with you?
So if they short on time, what would you watch to prep yourself? I'm going to go with the easy answer. I think it's the final episode of season 4. I think it frames it really well, where you see what happens with Ezra and Thrawn. You get the epilogue and the farewell. You get the sense of family. And I believe the launching point of where this series may start is where Ahsoka visits Sabine. And the bookends, by the way, is mind-blowing. Because when we see that scene, we see Sabine looking over the railing, and her hair is blowing, and she's sort of looking forlornly out into the distance, which is the exact same scene that we see in episode 1 of Rebels, and that's Ezra who's doing that. So the bookends are perfect. So that last episode really does set the stage for what we're going to see in Ahsoka. So that would be my suggestion.
All right, Pat.
I say you make the time to not only watch that, but also Ahsoka's arc in season 7 of the Clone Wars.
For sure.
Oh, nice. Because
Very
good.
That really speaks to her character, kind of almost at that point in time. Because I think that who she has become by that point is pretty well who she is, when we see her again. She's hit that sort of zen and control over not only the Force but herself. And so that gives you insight into her, and then of course the live action episodes that have her and Luke kind of talking about the Jedi and the past and everything, to kind of hit a couple important nods before jumping into her series.
That's doable too in the next few days.
Yeah.
I agree with all those. Definitely. I know you're not going to have time if you haven't started watching Star Wars Rebels, but if you can, watch as much as you can going into this. I think especially if you want to get Ahsoka's portion of it, then the beginning of season 2 mostly, and then the very end. But Twilight of the Apprentice is the episode you have to see. Seriously, that is the one that we've already discussed a little bit about here already, where she does meet up with Vader / Anakin, and it is a very impactful episode. The World Between Worlds episode could very much come into play in the series. I think that's huge. And then I'm going to go back to the Clone Wars, and there's a lot of things you could watch Ahsoka, but go to the Mortis trilogy. Because I really believe that lot of so much Jedi lore is within that itself, and a lot of what Ahsoka became and why she kind of embodies this super light side of the Jedi comes out of that trilogy. I think it's really, really impactful into who she is as a character. So if you want to go back and delve into the Clone Wars, that's not a bad one as well, to kind of get to know Ahsoka a little bit more.
Oh yeah. Fantastic. Yep.
Yeah. Excellent responses, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One more thing I wanted to ask Charles specifically. Are we going to get Captain Rex and Ahsoka?
I mean, I haven't been asked to, so, but I can't really divulge it because ACTRA and the whole screenwriters thing. That's a great. I haven't even actually considered that. That would be a wow moment because we've seen it. We saw him in the Kenobi series. Tamura was in there as the sort of the beleaguered clone there. Wow. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I haven't thought about that. That would be a cherry on top of that story. Holy moly, that would be amazing.
Series.
And it's the Ahsoka series and how much affection they have for each other.
I was just thinking about it. Why it came to my mind right now is thinking about the episodes that she was in Rebels and thinking of their reunion and how impactful that was when they got back. Spoiler alert, sorry, too late. When they got back together in that episode and how emotional that reunion was.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And how he's just been there for so many different stages of her development.
Right.
And how they learned from each other, especially from their very first meeting, which I was still awake for when I was watching the Clone Wars movie, by the way, Pat. When
take your word for it.
The whole rank versus experience, and it was like a critical moment for the beginning of their relationship, but that just carried on forward. Oh wow, that's a fantastic question.
Yeah.
That was one of our trivia questions on the Disney cruise ship.
What was that?
Experience outranked.
Thank you.
Outranked everything.
The cold medicine's kicking in now.
Yeah. That's my excuse too. I don't have a cold, but that's what I'm going to say anyway. Well, guys, thank you so much. We couldn't be more excited for the Ahsoka series, and I always appreciate your input and your Star Wars intellect. You always do it in a fun, entertaining way, just like you do on the Conversations podcast. We love having you on our show, and we love listening to your show. Tell the listeners where they can find the Conversations podcast, download it, listen to it, and find you on the socials as well.
You can get our newsletter via carrier pigeon. We are. Oh, we're not doing that anymore. Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah. So the very best place to find us is on our own website at conversations.com.
I've heard that.
Have you? Okay. That makes two of us. And we are on facebook.com/conversations. Are we still doing Twitter? I think we do Twitter.
Yeah, it's X, but Twitter, that works. Yeah.
I don't know.
That thing. We're still there.
And you do the thing. At Swations on whatever that is. We've got the Instagram, Conversations on that one. And Commerceations on Etsy.
Ooh, very nice. It's commerce.
That.
Yeah.
And of course, if you forget all that, you can remember our link tree that has links to all of that at link.tree/conversations. And of course, as we always like to point out, in addition to that, there is the brilliant and wonderful Red 5 network, of which we are proud founding members. And they and all of our, most of our friends, some of our friends, are over there creating content at bio.link/Red5.
Nice. Nice. And we're on Threads, by the way.
What's a thread?
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an offshoot of Instagram. So we publish things there. So you can find us there.
Yeah.
Post things.
What he said. And by we, he's being generous. It's not we.
Well, again, we've said it many, many times. Their show is fantastic.
Yes.
If you enjoy learning about Star Wars, but like a good entertaining podcast, whether you know Star Wars, whether you don't, you're going to enjoy listening to these guys because you heard them on this show. It's very similar on their show. Please check them out if you haven't already, because they do a fantastic podcast for sure.
Definitely do a lot of research and prep for their episodes and bring so much great information.
Wait, you're talking about Conversations, right?
Oh my God.
But thank you for having us. I can honestly say that you guys are a light of joy, happiness, and smiles, like consistently for my drive to work every Monday morning. And it doesn't matter what the subject, whether it's the amazing stuff that Michelle does with the 100 years of Disney. I always learn something about Disney, but it's such with such love, and Pat and you guys, your relationship is wonderful, and it's a beacon. It's like a thing that you can look towards. So it's full of love, laughs, and information. So we love your show as well.
We do indeed.
Thank you, Charles. Checks in the mail. Well, guys, this is very fun. We could talk to you forever about Rebels and Ahsoka and everything else, but at some point we need to cut this episode off. But...
And all three of you guys did a great job with information and sharing, and y'all.
Pat won.
Honey, you did good. You did good, honey.
I guess Pat's got to win a prize. He's got the most points. We'll figure out.
Oh, wait a minute.
I know what the prize is.
I forfeit my winnings.
No, he's going to take over the socials for 1 week. Yay!
Oh!
my Kermit the Frog yay is going full force there.
Hi, hello, Twitter. It's nice to see you again. It's been a while, I guess.
Oh, God.
Guys, thanks again for taking.
No, it's X. the letter X. It's towards the end. I don't know where that's going. Nowhere
good.
No.
We're gonna have Hondo and Jack Sparrow, and Kermit the Frog
having a
my
conversation.
gosh.
Oh, what have I done? Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Very good.
Guys,
thanks again.
What now? What now?
Get out while you can. Eject. Guys, thanks again. Taking out so much time to talk about this. We're so very excited about it. Maybe after it's done, we'll bring you back on and recap what we've seen with the Ahsoka series and where Star Wars is going forward.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Or maybe you'll learn from your mistakes. I don't know.
I haven't yet. I don't know why I would then. Guys, thanks again for joining us.
Oh, absolutely. It again has been a pleasure, and we look forward to many, many more humiliating events for Charles. I mean, I do.
Thank you so much for having us. We love you guys, and we can't wait for the next one.
Thanks again to Pat and Charles. So much fun with them. I know you heard it, and we had such a great time talking with them and at length about Ahsoka and Star Wars Rebels.
Right. Yeah, I can't think of a better group of people, and with you two in there, honey, talking about the series coming up and the excitement surrounding that. So it was fun for sure. I don't know if you could ever say something is too much fun, but I would classify this as pretty much that.
Yeah, it was pretty close to too much fun. It's a great time with those guys all the time. Every time we bring them on the show, every time we get to chat with them, we just have a fantastic time, and we can't wait to have them back on the show again at a future time, maybe to discuss more about Ahsoka or maybe some other topics. Who knows? You just never know with those two. Exactly. Now, before we get into the Disney stories of the week, we need to talk to you about our great friend Nate with Main Street and More Travel, because let's face it, we all have trips we're thinking about taking in the very near future. Well, if you do, whether it be to Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise, or anywhere in the world beyond, let me tell you, Nate is the certified Disney vacation planner that you are going to want to get in contact with.
Oh my gosh, for sure. As we, mention all the time, he really has firsthand knowledge of things, so he can really help you plan, customize a trip that is going to be the best for you, answer your questions. It's really concierge level planning that doesn't cost you anything.
High end. It is high end stuff that he will help you out with, answer all your questions. He is there for you to make sure your trip, wherever it may be the best it possibly can be. And as Michelle mentioned, no extra cost to you. That's because either Disney or whatever other travel branch that he works through pays him for you. What you end up paying is exactly what you pay if you did all that work yourself. Only you can save that time and just relax and enjoy and let him set it all up for you.
Right. And you know what? He may even be able to save you some money from you doing it alone, because he is on top of all the deals and steals that are out there.
Yeah. I mean, there's never a guarantee, but let me tell you, if there's a discount out there, Nate will find it for you. So what you got to do is go to distripsandmore.com, fill out the form there, and just contact him, talk to him, tell him what you want to do, and let him get to work for you.
Right. So as Tom mentioned, once you fill out that form, Nate will be back in touch with you to start that planning, but be sure to tell him that Tom and Michelle sent you.
Yeah. Again, that's Nate with Main Street and More Travel. All right, let's go ahead and get to the Disney stories of the week. And I've got a few for you, but we're going to rip through them pretty quickly here because obviously we've already talked at length about Ahsoka, but we do need to talk a couple more things about Ahsoka right now. Yep. We're going to start with, you'll be able to check out the series we're talking about on today's episode a little earlier than we expected. That's because Disney and Lucasfilm announced on social media that Ahsoka, the series, will be dropping on Disney Plus on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. That's great news. That'll give you a chance to get a jump on the spoilers. You're not going to have all these people that are, either stay up really late and watch it, or get up early in the morning and watch it in the morning while you're having to go to work or whatever. You're trying to dodge, if you go on social media, dodge spoilers all day. No, you're going to have your opportunity to watch it right off the bat when it debuts.
That is great. I know. I've kind of avoided social media lately because I knew of the D23 event that allowed people to see it already. Or see the episodes already. So this is really exciting that it's going to drop early. Yay.
Yeah, so that is really great news, and excited to see the series, obviously, since we talked about it at length today. Speaking of that series, your chance to meet its main character is coming very soon to the Disneyland Resort. Disney Parks sent out this notice on social media as well that Ahsoka, yes, Ahsoka herself, will be paying visits to Batuu within Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at the Disneyland Resort beginning on August 23rd, so coinciding with the debut, sort of, since we now know it's going to be sort of be on the 22nd with the show's release. That means you'll have your chance to meet up, take photos, and talk with your favorite Togrutan.
That's so cool. It's funny, I was looking through photos today for something, and I saw from our nighttime Disneyland Star Wars event years ago that we actually had a picture with Sabine.
Yeah, I actually posted it for our little Star Wars Saturday posting on social media. Our picture was Sabine and Chopper.
That's
Chopper
right,
was there
yes.
too. So that was really fun. And hopefully,
I guess he was just a little well behaved.
He was actually fairly quiet for Chopper. He may have powered down. I don't know what it is, but hopefully that would be a nice addition as well. Another chance to meet with Sabine and Chopper would be fantastic.
Right.
Batuu as well. But looking forward to the chance to meet up with Ahsoka. Again, right now it's only at the Disneyland Resort, hoping they extend that to the Walt Disney World Resort eventually as well. Finally, we now know when you'll be able to dig a little deeper into a few of Tiana's delicious dishes at the Happiest Place on Earth. This from the Disney Parks blog. They said, "We're pleased to announce that the official opening date of Tiana's Palace restaurant in Disneyland Park is September 7th, 2023. So just a couple weeks away.
Yeah, very exciting.
This reimagined quick service style restaurant is inspired by the one Princess Tiana created in the beloved Walt Disney Animation Studios film, of course, The Princess and the Frog. They say there'll be so many elegant yet subtle details throughout the restaurant that offer fun hints at Tiana's rich past in New Orleans. Below the lit marquee that reads Tiana's Palace, hanging above the metallic gold balcony, is an emerald green wrought iron railing and awnings dyed in yellow and green. Of course, very reminiscent of the colors that she sports quite often. You will be surrounded by the colors of Mardi Gras. You sit at yellow tabletops on warm vanilla colored chairs with green seats in the shade of yellow and green umbrellas. That's nice.
Yes.
Meanwhile, the nice touches the Disney Imagineers have put throughout the restaurant itself. They said they took inspiration from the film for the interior of the restaurant, which includes a large mural of the bayou. You will also see other references to Tiana stories. Lilies represented on numerous signs, plaques, and light fixtures, frog porcelains, cookbooks Tiana has collected on little shelves, and her father's favorite gumbo spoon proudly on display. You also want to keep an eye out for letters from her father and neighbors on display alongside a childhood photo of Tiana. So I love the little things you'll be able to find when you're in that dining establishment as well.
Yeah, Imagineers do spectacular work with Easter eggs.
Yeah, for sure. They say at Tiana's Palace, you can enjoy new menu items that represent Tiana's story and honor the flavors and flair of New Orleans with an effort to source some of their ingredients directly from the state of Louisiana when possible. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
When they have the opportunity to get them. Some of the items straight from Tiana's backyard.
Very cool.
Yeah. Also, this means, of course, the Mint Julep Bar will be reopening at the same time as well. So very popular spots back open soon at the Disneyland Resort. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. That's it for the Disney stories of the week. However, we never leave you without giving you some sort of tip that might help you on your next vacation. And when we do this, we always start with Michelle because she's awesome, wonderful, all things great in the world. You heard it just a little bit earlier. She is the queen of trivia.
No, trivia torture, I think.
Yes, the game show hostess with the mostest.
Mostest torture.
You know she does the best research. And you definitely know she has the best list. But one thing is for sure, she definitely has the very best tips. So let's get to it. Here is Michelle's tip of the week.
Oh, you're sweet, honey. So inspired by the concept of cruising, I came up with a cruise tip, and if that has to do with going on a Disney cruise. If you really enjoy your specialty coffees, and you feel like, yes, and especially if you're like, kind of have your favorite that you like every day at home and you want to have it abroad, well, you can do that. They have obviously specialty coffee at a Disney cruise, and it's in the Cove Cafe that you can also get a rewards card, and you buy 5 coffees. They click it off on the card, and your 6th one is for free. So it saves you a little money.
Yes, which we've taken advantage of many, many times because we enjoy our nice coffees there at the Cove Cafe quite often.
Yes. And even though the specialty coffees are a little extra, they're not included with the price of the cruise, they do also serve some specialty treats in the Cove Cafe. Some are sweet, some are savory, and we enjoy those, especially the afternoon ones, because they're usually dishes that you don't, small plate things that you don't find anywhere else on the ship. So
they're usually just little bites that you can enjoy with your coffee, or then they have a full bar in there too, so you can have an actual cocktail if that's more what you prefer. Right. But they do have a great selection, and we enjoy going there very, very often.
Yeah, the treats are free.
Great tip. Michelle's tip, always the best tip. We're running long. My tip is quick, simple, easy, and I've already discussed it a little bit on this show. If you love Star Wars, go and be sure and watch the animated series because they bring so much to what you know as Star Wars. They fill in so many gaps. Watch the Clone Wars. Watch Star Wars Rebels. Watch Resistance. There's so much out there that is wonderful entertainment and good Star Wars storytelling. please go out, and if you haven't done it, or if you haven't seen them in a long time, go back and revisit them because they are magnificent.
Exactly. Couldn't agree with you more.
Thank you very much. So that's it for this week's show. Next week, well, it's always a question when you plan your trip to Walt Disney World Resort. Should we stay in the Disney bubble, or should we save a little money and go off property? Well, we're going to discuss the benefits of staying on property, on Disney property, so you can have more information and that maybe help you decide for yourself for your next vacation.
Right, exactly. And, we've talked in the past how things have changed and how some things are returning that are beneficial. So hopefully this can, like Tom said, help you out in deciding.
Yeah, get you a little bit more inspiration. And again, everything, what's right for some people isn't right for everybody, but we're going to try and fill in everything that has been kind of re-added to staying at a Disney resort. And so you can have it spelled out for you, and then you can do the math or whatever it is for yourself to make your own decision and figure out what's best for you and your family.
Yeah. And sometimes it could depend on the duration of the trip and other factors. So
sure. Exactly.
Hopefully help you out in those issues.
For sure. So, as for today's show, we appreciate that you joined us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com. Also, we are on social media. We're on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast. I am not calling it that. Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. If you are on Facebook, come on over and join us for some good, positive Disney energy fun on our Hyperion Adventurers Facebook group. Also, we are on YouTube. If you want to find us there, we're at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. And if you ever want to contact us for any reason, please hit us up at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
And if you like this podcast and you want to help support it, we would love to invite you to tell a friend or family member who isn't currently listening to join us.
For sure. That's the best way to share the word that this show exists, and there's people that might enjoy it just like you do. Hopefully you do anyway. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We look forward to sharing some time with you again next week. Until that time, I'm Tom.
I'm Michelle.
And we hope that you have a magical week.
Bye.